Hello everybody, I am your androgynous android game show host from the future, Nathan Blades. This is the new Uncast Twitch channel. I am live early because we've been raided by big bees. Bees, I think, has already vanished into the ether to retrieve their tiny child. But thank you everybody for joining me. Ahead of schedule. It's very nice of you to hang out with me like this. I am joined, at least for the next half an hour or so, by a friend of the show, the illustrious Tom. Hi.
Good evening.
Hi. How are you doing today? How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I might nip off for a second just to get my headset on so you don't get yourself repeated back through my speakers.
You're good. You're good. Take your time. Akami Sora says, I look different to how you expected. Is it because of my British accent? You assumed I was more Caucasian than I actually am. You're not the first person to do that. But I am radiant regardless of how you expected me to look. It's a pleasure to see you. We have... I would have a much more organized desk. But again, we started things ahead of schedule by just a hair, so I am still faintly disorganized, forgive me. But we have a bunch of stuff to do today. Usually when I do that, if you don't know me, for those who've raided now and don't know me very well, I might have given my intro previously. I am the androgynous android game show host from the future, Nathan Blades, tabletop RPG designer, streamer, voice actor, and general internet ne'er-do-well. I do tabletop RPGs. I do miniature painting increasingly these days, and various other tabletop-related sundry activities. Oh no, I do have blotting paper. Hold on. It's like, how am I going to clean my brush? Because I have paper here. Okay. But yes, we on occasion do miniature painting streams, and on those streams, before I get into it, definitely not that. I'm running sound posh as hell, so there's no that kind of thing. Just expected a very long beard. I can tell. No beard. I like to keep myself clean shaven. I wasn't trying to be shady. You good. But yes, I've not done a miniature painting stream in a hot second, but I've been very fortunate in multiple ways. I have been sponsored on 2 separate vectors at the moment, which is pretty cool. I have been sponsored, or gifted, I guess, by Atomic Mass Games. Atomic Mass Games do a miniature game called Marvel Crisis Protocol. I am a big Marvel Comics fan and a fan of like Marvel vs. Capcom, the arcade game. So that they had a miniature war game I was very into. And I spoke to the community manager at Gen Con last year, and she was very nice. And I expressed my interest in the range, and being candid as well, actually being genuine. One of the things that I really enjoyed about painting the miniatures for MCP was that there are a lot of black characters in Marvel, more so than in other fandoms. And while you can paint a miniature any color you want, I realize there is no music. I will fix that shortly. Please be patient. While there are lots of while you can paint miniatures any color, that's allowed. Oh, that's very loud. Let me turn that all the way down. There we go. Thank you. Nightmare. I'm very organized today. Yeah, you can paint a miniature any color you like, but it's very nice when games have actual people of color in their sculpt design. And with Marvel having that kind of cast of characters, there are a lot of black characters for me to paint. And so as a result, she sent a box for the, what's it called? Battle for the Throne terrain set, which is this huge fuck off waterfall. Autofocus is a thing. Let me turn on autofocus.
It's a hell of a size.
It's huge. I've never painted like terrain before, so this has been working out how I'm gonna tackle this is new territory. I also have an overhead, so let me turn that on. Ooh, there we go. Yeah, I've never painted terrain before. It's very much a display piece rather than kind of like battle terrain. There is no back. but I've base sprayed this and done a little bit of painting on it already. But I figured that this is an interesting thing to go paint on camera, as just something I've never attempted before. You paint quite a few large things, don't you, Tom?
I'm currently painting an excessively large thing at the moment. I think the Kingdom Death Dragon and this Chaos Dwarf.
That dragon with like the bacon wings was
that's the one.
yeah,
That's the one.
very cool
Was
looking.
a pandemic. I've not got a lot to do. Look at the dragon that's been glaring at me for most of the for a good 2 or 3 years. Like, now is the time.
I can't. Oh, I can screen share OBS with you, so you can catch the feed in real time rather than having to wait like the 15 seconds or whatever. That might be a better feed. But yeah, not only did they send me this terrain, there's a Killmonger and Black Panther that go on here as well, which I might unearth and show to the camera as well if you give me a second. They are just in this box here. I have taken to having like all of my miniature painting stuff on a little wheelie trolley next to my desk, so I can it's in a different box. I see. I can kind of access my paints and miniatures quickly in instances where I'm like, ooh, where do I obtain this? I don't have the excuse to not paint if the paint is immediately next to me.
Yeah, it was very, very weird one, because I had I've always had this problem of actually getting into the mood to paint. Historic issue. And there was a thread on like one of the mini painting things. I think it was probably on Reddit actually, and someone had put a thing. It was like, I struggle to actually sit down and paint my models. What advice would you give? First thing someone recommended was try this self-help book. I'm actually being serious. It's 300 pages long, and I think it was, what's it called? It's one about habit forming. The name completely eludes me now. I'll look it up later. But
I think mindfulness is definitely a factor in being able to.
Yeah, it was just it was like, actually no. When you read something, it's like, no, this is right. And one of the things was like, have a designated painting area. When you are sat here, you are painting. Change your mind of how you think about things. It's like, I need to do some painting. Oh yes, I get to do some painting this evening, and that sort of thing.
Hey, thank you for the sub. I need to re-put in the alert bot. I'm so sorry. I'm so disappointed.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
So, again, I will segue back to what you were talking about, Tom. I think this is probably relatively important for the stream mentioning. So I used to use a specific kind of bot to handle commands and things like that. And it turns out that the people who own Stream Elements are like specifically pro-Israel in the current conflict. And I was like, I can't do that. So I'm just going to see if I can switch all of my tech to use a different service instead, but it means that not all of my scenes have all the bits and pieces in yet, so sometimes alerts don't work. But let me see if I can run that again. Will it let me run that alert again? It won't. Okay, I'm sorry, but thank you for resubscribing, Rook.
It's so fine.
Gosh, but yes, to loop back, the being able to kind of set a specific place for painting makes sense. My work desk, this is just my regular computing desk, and if I'm working from home, I'm at this desk too. Which, as a pro, it does mean that I can do creative exploits very easily. As a con, maybe I should be working instead of miniature painting some days. But I definitely agree. It helps get things done. So have you been painting a lot more now that you've got your methodology set? Now that you've changed your way of thinking?
I think so. It's certainly a lot better than I used to be. I still have, certainly if it's either painting or putting things together more recently since pre-Christmas, but Yeah, I'm sorry to set myself targets because obviously we've got the plastic bar stewards thing to do at some point.
Yep.
The models sat down.
I've had mine done for a while, but I'm ready for you when you're ready. I mean, that's the big like Mesopotamian brass tank that you're working on is definitely its own full thing. That's going to take you a while.
String of words.
I'm not kidding. I think Mesopotamian is definitely accurate to the kind of time period it's evoking.
Yeah, it's definitely that sort of vibe. It's, I do. They're an interesting mismatch, those 3D prints of the that sort of style. I'm quite a fan of them. But I'm trying to set myself a target of getting at least an army of it painted, which is drinking my paint.
Yeah, you gotta start using. I mean, I'm gonna be using some just regular ass craft paint from the range to paint some of this terrain because it's so large. But yes, the terrain also came with a Black Panther and Killmonger, who I have only base coated, so they are not done. Let me readjust the focus because I'm gonna have to keep adjusting the focus until I work out what's good for this. But yeah, I mean, I've only, as I said, I've only really put the base colors down. It's still very rough, but this was like table ready. I could take this to a game day because I got these ahead of them being officially released. So it was nice to kind of take them to my local game store and be like, these are a new thing. And a Killmonger as well.
Are these the unreleased ones, or are they?
These have been released as of the 31st.
Okay.
So they are now available to the general public. People have been trying to work out where I can hold them on terms of camera. There we go. People, now that they've gotten the waterfall, have realized that in none of the promos the waterfall is not shown from the back, so they did not realize it doesn't have a back. It's interesting because usually most of the terrain for Marvel Crisis Protocol, let me go grab one up here. This I've base sprayed but not painted, but it's like a destroyed building. But it's, you know, paint on all sides, and it has a little number on the bottom. You can see that 4 there. That's to let you know how large the object is, so superheroes can throw them. Because obviously, if you're playing a game where the Hulk exists and you can't like throw cars and buildings, what's the point?
That's a nice design point, actually. I don't think I played a game with that style of.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting. But this doesn't have this waterfall doesn't have a size because it's not really designed. I don't think it's really designed to be used as part of an actual game map, or at least it's designed to be so large it can't be moved, because this is part of like a mountain face, right? So it's not like anybody can just rip part of the mountain out and move it. They also gave me, and this is coming out next, I don't think I'm allowed to talk about this, but it's not available in stores yet, a set of Black Panther like statues that I've been working on. You can tell that one is more done than the other. This one is finished. I just kind of need to varnish it. Very happy with how it turned out. Kind of an obsidian kind of effect. And this is kind of like the one that's a work in progress. But yeah, these are really cool and have numbers on the bottom so you know that you're able to actually go throw them. Go by the Immortal Hulk where he lifted the mountain. Yeah, true. There are superheroes that have definitely lifted mountains. This one is like size 4. It's absolutely massive. But not too difficult to paint. Like the amount of base work I've done so far didn't really take me too long. I did like all 3 of these in like an afternoon. What else? I kind of lined up my other bits and pieces so I can show and tell what I've been working on lately, especially since we're kind of killing time to the half-an-hour mark. I've painted some Infinity. This gentleman right here that I really like. Do you recognize the color scheme of this, Tom?
Vaguely, yes, but you have to remind me from where.
It is a faction in Limbus Company.
Oh, got the... Yes, Oh, the name's just
It's
completely
the
gone by.
Rose Spanner Workshop,
Yeah,
I think is
that's it.
I was
No,
like,
no.
that gradient between like a dusty pink and a magenta is so fucking fly. I need to paint a mini. And as I was saying before, I quite like it when games intentionally sculpt POC instead of you just coloring them that way. I love that they just have Infinity just has a South Asian character that's dapper as fuck. I love this sculpt so much. He looks so cool.
It's really nice that they can do it because obviously like facial structure and things being a big one. Because oh god, the age of like 90s and 80s where like every face looked the same and it looked hideous.
Just made of
like,
plasticine, fully.
Ridiculous cheeks and.
Yeah, that they can go in for a much finer detail, but it's also like hairstyles and clothing that convey it. I think that really helps. I know people in real life that look like that, and that's always nice. Yeah. I painted these a while ago, but I hadn't shown them on camera because I wasn't doing miniature paint for a while. I did a not Blades in the Dark, a Blade Runner campaign in real life rather than on Tinternet. So I painted minis of our characters. I've pulled out 2. I'm not going to show you all 4. But this is Inspector Robert Papadopoulos, who is using, this is a sculpt from Monster Fight Club's Cyberpunk Red line. But I love how much of an auntie this sculpt is.
Yeah.
You know, she has nieces and nephews that she goes and says hi to after she's done like shooting hella people, I guess. But I also kind of practicing on doing faces and putting the eyes in was the thing that I was kind of like quite trying to get right for this.
I'm a coward with eyes. Eyes just shaded in. I can't. Although the best painting advice I ever saw for doing eyes was buy the Dungeons and Dragons gibbering mouther, which is just a giant ball of eyes.
And then by the time you've done every single eye on that, you know how to do eyes. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Damasan. There's also, this was my character, Kevin Rainy Day, a replicant. This is Kit Bashed from a bunch of different things you might recognize.
Recognize the lack body from that.
I love their trench coat design so much. There was like a whole rebreather tube that I had to like file away and plastic glue to be smooth again. And the fact that you can barely tell that was even there before, I was quite happy with the amount of alterations I got to make with this to get it working. But yeah, this is also eyes that I've done. I use a fine liner pen to do the eyes. Like I'll block in the white and everything.
That's very good.
But I'll use a fine liner pen for the eyes and like be able to kind of do eyeliner and eyebrows and things like that. It's yeah.
I might have to adopt that. That's a very good idea because the few times I've tried to done it going, googly eyes, wonderful.
Sora says that Papadopoulos is also the kind of aunt that turns up ready to knock the shit out of their nieces and nephews bully. Absolutely, absolutely. Always nice when you can get that kind of personality in the sculpt. It's not just a dude with a sword. You can like tell what this character is about by like the way that they're posed and everything. And then a big thing I worked on finished relatively recently is the Flower Knight from Kingdom Death Monster.
Ooh, yeah.
I really enjoyed working on this motherfucker.
You got a really good deal on that one as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Their Black Friday deal was like basically half price across their entire website. Unfortunately, most of Kingdom Death Monsters' stuff is shipped from the US, but there is like a UK distribution store, but they only sell like expansions to the board game. They don't sell any of the kind of like limited editional luxury minis. But because this is one of the actual board game pieces, I was able to get this for 30 quid when it normally goes for like 70.
You should get the Slender Man to go alongside it as well if that ever comes
That one
down
looks
in
too
price.
delicate. I mean, I guess it's made of actual like hard plastic, so the spindly bits can be moved without snapping into. But yeah, I really like working on this one. This was a lot of I did the kind of like Grisaille, like slap chop style, base sprayed in purple and then zenithal with a white rattle can. And then I used really, really bright contrast paint just in swathes going from dark to light, from bottom to top across the mini, and then layered the paint on top of that. So not really using it as like a, oh, this part is going to be purple, but to give a purple hue to like the feet, for example.
Yeah.
And then the head I based in yellow, and you can kind of tell that even though it's the same kind of green metal color scheme, the color story is different. And that worked out so well. I'm gonna have to do, I think it works best on very large minis, but it's definitely something I'm gonna have to do more in future. Yeah.
Solid job.
How was how have you appeared like a bolt from the blue into the chat, Rook, but I didn't actually get the chance to ask how you are. How have you been? What have you been up to?
Oh, yeah, no, I've been good. Not really much other than like work. But I'm up for a promotion, which is nice.
Ooh, exciting.
So, very exciting.
I hope you get it.
Thank you. Yeah, otherwise just kind of like not much going on. TBH.
That's fine. You know, you're allowed to have gaps where you're not doing big important things. You got to take that time for yourself sometimes, you know.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff I'm working on creatively is currently in pre-production, so I'm not going to talk about it because like I have like no concrete public-facing details.
Exclusive. Wow. Hey, you know, it is always very funny to me when I like do the occasional appearing on other people's like channels for actual play stuff. And you know, at the end of the show, we've done our bit and everything, and then they're like, "Oh, you know, where can we find you? What projects have you got going on?" This is too thin. This is too watery. But and then some people are kind of like, "Oh, can't talk about that. It's too exclusive. Oh, can't talk about this either." Oh, and it's like, I understand that you got big projects going on. I didn't realize they made you sign an NDA. Is it that deep? Dang. But yeah, you are officially on that exclusive business. That's cool.
Oh no, this isn't an NDA. No, this is literally is too early that like I don't actually have any details that would be.
Sure. Gotcha.
No, but usually when I'm guesting on like someone else's actual play channel, I'm usually with one of my friends, so I'm just kind of like, go follow one of these other people. I'll probably be in the project.
I'll be there. Don't worry about it. Let me
If I'm in it, one of these people are in it. It's fine. Don't worry about me.
God, getting the right focus right. Okay, this should do it. Yeah. No, I mean, working on big new projects is always a thing. January, for me at the very least, was very much about the high voltage tabletop bundle that I was organizing. My first itch.io co-op bundle. It was fun to do. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the nature of self-promo and in doing that kind of thing. Everybody is kind of like, oh man, the process of having to like market yourself on social media is so obnoxious. Why can't we just like, you know, just be, man? And me realizing pretty rapidly that actually the process of highlighting to like games websites and spreading by word of mouth is just so fucking paramount to have people even recognize that you exist, actually. Has been an interesting wake-up call. You know, it's important to be able to enjoy doing these things for the love of the art, but now I know that actually the process of trying to actually, you know, get recognized, capital G, capital R, is no joke, honestly. I have a similar at work. I'm working on a major project that I'm not even allowed to tell my manager and senior manager about. Ooh. Exclusive. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Now, the next thing on the docket, and I'm happy to kind of talk about this now because I'm really going to be doing a post on my super secret Discord in the next week or two. Last year, I learned about the musician collective called the Soulquarians. They are a group of like hip hop, neo soul, and R&B musicians. Erykah Badu, D'Angelo, Jay Dilla, who were all happening to be working in the same like recording studio at the same time. And by working in that space together and just being able to kind of like peer review each other's stuff, it ended up in an interesting space where all of their work got stronger from being influenced by each other, even if they didn't directly feature on each other's content, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's really cool. And I have cultivated a community of very, 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 very good and clever and sexy tabletop RPG designers and performers. Would it be neat if I like explored that idea and kind of had a tabletop design equivalent? Because there's a handful of people on our Discord who have not released many games and would like to, or would like to be able to work on projects that they can actually sell. The tabletop RPG, at least actual play space, is very much a for exposure environment. I wish I could pay my performers, but I do not have the production budget to be able to do that. So being able to kind of enable people to work on projects that they can then actually make some ducats off of their own genuine work is a thing that I'm like, that's cool as hell. I want to make sure that my friends can do that. So yeah. I'm going to be specifically organizing that in the next week or two in the Discord. I don't know whether either of you folks and whether Rook and Tom, you would be interested in participating in that process or not.
Definitely. I'll have a look at the scope and how creative I'm feeling. But could be fun to challenge myself to actually put some pen to paper. And so I've had quite a few things where I've run and put some scribbles down, but never actually finalised, I guess. So.
It is the general. Sorry, go ahead, Rook.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I have a lot of games that are still in, like, the whip stage, and I just have, like, intense writer's block. So definitely something I'd be down for. Like, creative space.
The general intent is to, like, over the course of, like, 6 months or so, have regular check-ins and feedback sessions. So, the scope and nature of your project could be whatever you want, right? If you in those 6 months you want to release, like, make, like, 20... one-page RPGs, and that's what you want to spend your time doing, absolutely. I want to like work on an RPG big enough to be published as a physical book, something like Osprey Games or Evil Hat would publish. And that's writing a book is a big dedicated effort, so finding methods of being able to not just kind of drive myself to work on it, but also have a sense testing and play testing environment. I know that dice math is not my strong point, but I know people who are good at that, and being able to kind of like ply them for that kind of knowledge is definitely going to be quite paramount to getting it where it needs to go. Gosh, this craft paint is very thin and not very good, but the coverage is pretty good. All I need to do is kind of tint some of these areas in the brown and then kind of go back over them in a nicer paint to kind of even out the color. Just trying to find ways to make all this look like stone is the name of the game here, which probably means I did actually get a little sponge fella. We might experiment with using this. I have no idea whether this would be useful or not. We're gonna.
I have been watching some quite good videos for doing painting of armor with those, because I always find armor painting quite a fiddly one, especially when it's like metallics. Because I'm not yet going to touch non-metallics. They can go.
Yeah, it's an interesting time dabbing off some of this. Okay. Let's try using some of this on this little base here and seeing how that works. What does this? Okay. Yeah. I feel it. Just like it's in the same angle but patchy, so I can fill in the gaps in other places. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I was not watching the stream when you mentioned it, but I was not expecting a literal sponge on a stick. There's something really comedic about watching you do this.
Just yes, I have to there is somebody who does like a maker YouTube channel who like makes dioramas out of scrap, called I think Studson, and he uses like texture paste a lot to kind of give like the flat milk bottle or whatever he was using texture, and he's like, oh yes, now it's time to stipple that goop.
God, that's a sentence.
And yeah, no, I mean, this isn't very thick paint, with it being cheap fucking craft paint, but I'm already getting texture. I'm already getting color depth. Actually, I do not hate this.
Yeah.
I am gonna have to like, because initially I was considering making this like black stone, or you know, the Disney Aladdin, like the Cave of Wonders.
Oh god, yeah.
Where it's like that big black, like, well, panther head, and it's kind of like blues and purples and whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's the energy I want for this. How am I going to render that color story in paint without using all of my tiny bottles of very expensive paint? And the answer is, so, you know, we experimented.
Yeah, no, it looks like it's working quite well with that. Also, my pledge to myself this year to at least run 1 or 2 games in some of the many RPG books that I bought over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I've currently got the Tabula Ultima sat on my unit side for flicking through.
That game has proven to be very popular.
It looks quite nice, having had a flick through on the level of, yes, this will have the juicy levels of JRPG complexity, but around a relatively simple to use rule set.
Like, there are at least 3 different actual plays for that at the moment going on, so it has definitely captured people's imagination.
It's just a very high production value book, I'll give them that.
I mean, you know, I invented the genre with Ballad of Conjurers, but they're allowed to explore the idea too.
I was literally thinking that.
You know, just because they managed to get theirs released in a big fancy book doesn't mean that, you know, I haven't also explored this space.
You just have to push it and sell it to the Italians, because they've got a very, very high weeb quotient to population.
Yeah,
density,
the artwork in that book is fucking stunning. Oh yeah, the weeb quotient is very high, because you used to do Force of Will tournaments in Venice for a couple years, right?
Just the ones, but I know talking to Italians and then just going around and finding random manga shops, and it's just apparently quite a popular thing over there, which is nice.
No, it's always interesting where other countries and their, like, I guess, fandoms has been interesting. That is a much lighter blue than I was expecting from this. Okay. That's fine. I can use some of my paint to darken that out. We have Velo Game Color Night Blue.
Did remind me on your flashing the Infinity figure there. I went to Madrid a few years back, and they had one of the most spectacular wargaming shops I've ever been to. It was, top floor was like Travelling Man, and then the entire massive basement with like every different brand plus 3D printing. Plus all sorts
wow! Okay,
very cool.
Very extensive. I get you. It's still a little on the light side, but I might be able to use some of this in the water, which might be good. Calculating route. Sorry, give me 1 second, I'm thinking. A dark purple ink hit somewhere. That might be able to get me where I need to go. The fuck is it? Well, here we go. Intensity, intense violet. Hey! You said Vallejo game color night blue and summoned you. How's it going, Sam? What's up? You have been very dedicated for your miniature painting streaming as of late. Let me work out how shout outs work again. I forget. Please. Yeah, there we go. That should work. Please work. Please give Minimaxing a follow. They're on the come up in terms of their online streaming space, their career. They do fabulous work. They've talked about, Nathan taught me the steps of like learning how to paint miniatures, and you just like immediately fucking outstripped me. The work you do is phenomenal. And you paint very buff, very hot men. And I know that there are many people within my streaming space that are definitely into that conceit. So thank you for providing us with good fucking food.
POV, Nathan calls half their audience simps.
I mean, if half my audience was simps, they would be donating bits a lot more. But that's an actual joke. Please do not donate me bits. It's fine. If you want to support the channel, please buy my tabletop RPGs. I've managed to get brown paint on the waterfall, but it's fine. The paint is so cheap I can rub it right off again.
Resisting the urge to just cash in 6 full stretch exercises.
I mean, fuck, if we want to do a full stretch exercise, we can.
No, I'll save them.
This mixture is too thick. It needs to be thinner. I really should be experimenting with it on the kind of little stand in the back where nobody can see it if I was doing it wrong. It feels a little too opaque. It's the right level of brightness, but I might need to find a way to add, remove some opacity or add some texture back to it is going to be a thing. Or just very delicately paint it on the undersides of things and kind of make sure to not hit any top areas. Ugh. Who knew that miniature painting could be like difficult or whatever? Yeah. What's the most complicated thing you've painted before, Tom?
I'm just trying to think, actually. It's actually fiddly. Because the dragon wasn't actually that challenging. It was just more
big,
using what you call them? Slow drying medium on the wings and bits of it for blend. Honestly, on little figures that I've done recently, that with our beach succubus.
Oh yeah. Because you did like
like
tattoos and stuff on her and everything.
Yeah, I tried to do tattoos and like beauty spots and other bits, and the wings were quite interesting shading to have to pull off. And it was like, not too bad. I had to stop playing with it after a while. It's like, no, put it down, it's done. No more,
yeah. The fiddling phase of it is a thing I am criminal about. Okay, this is much more of a reasonable texture. I'm not going to apologize for what you called this clip. I will have a glance at it in a bit. My hands are full, but thank you for making a clip.
That's amazing. On that bombshell, I may sneak off.
Yes, you have social activities for your Friday evening.
I do. Pleasure having the chat. Good to speak to you again, Rook.
Yeah.
Hope the painting goes well.
See you later.
Experimenting.
Bye.
And you said that you've not done any mini painting in a hot second.
No, the last minis I painted were the Tau kill team around my birthday.
And hey, Those look cool. Is it? Well, it depends on how you feel about it on the other side, though, because sometimes it's like, yeah, this is done. I'm energized to do some more. And then there's like, it's fucking done. I have to think about this anymore. Thank goodness.
Well, I mean, because I basically did the entire kill team in one sitting, like, I'm very proud of. Yeah, and like, it's table ready, so if I ever get invited to a game of kill team, you know, I have something prepared. Yeah, like, I'm definitely not a proficient painter, I would say, and I'm not trying to be, so like, I'm pretty glad that like it's a little messy, but like, they still look neat.
And that's all that matters, is that you I mean, this is rapidly becoming a very impressionist piece that I'm doing
cool.
here. I'm enjoying the color story that's manifesting here, the kind of like deep blues and purples kind of coming up to this like brick red. Finding that connection, that transition between the two is going to be a bit of an adventure. But
it reminds me of like a specific area in Elden Ring.
I didn't realize there was anything in Elden Ring that was this colorful, to be honest.
Yeah, Elden Ring is a very colorful game. There's a Elden Ring spoilers, I guess.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's a bit where you kind of like find this like temple, and you go in, and there's a lift, and as you go down, it takes you underground to this like purple washed city in like this massive cave. And there are these like bioluminescent lights, so it just looks like the city's in like eternal nighttime. And that's just kind of what this gradient is giving me. That like kind of like cave made to resemble nighttime.
Yeah, no, I see it. I think it's finding ways to kind of desaturate as we move later in places. I think once I kind of work out what the transition is going to be, then we're going to be in a good spot. The colors look great together. Looks like the water is glowing. So yeah, no, this is the blue is a Ralcan actually. It is a Tamiya brand like teal rattle can. I quite like basing my minis using a mixture of like, I usually use a purple base coat and then either spray from the top down with like a white or a gray, or if I'm feeling fun, fresh and flirty, a bright color of some kind, and then maybe another white or gray on top of that afterwards, as a way to kind of like give a color story before I've even actually put any dedicated paint on it. That can be very useful, because I think by the way that I kind of base sprayed this has removed a lot of the work that I would need to do otherwise, which I appreciate. You know, this is a very big miniature. The not irony, the oxymoron is not lost on me of whether this could even by rights even be called a miniature. Going and saying painting something so big, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting challenge, right? I don't think I would necessarily paint terrain this size of my own volition. So in that way, I am actually very grateful to being given the opportunity to paint something that I wouldn't have been able to spend the money on otherwise. I do believe this goes for somewhere between 80 to 100 pounds for the terrain, and then kind of like the miniatures that come with it and stuff like that, which is cool. I've definitely seen miniature things that cost more than that, but that is largely out of my price range. So I appreciate being funding your local artists to take the opportunity to kind of experiment on something like this.
Yeah.
Plus, even though most of my I have the Black Panther and Killmonger minis because they are men and they have defined forms. That defined needs to either be a capital D or in scare quotes. I mean, they do. They're very pointedly muscular. but I know what you mean when you are saying defined forms there. Say what you mean. But yeah, a lot of my the little terrain that I do have is very specifically like a cyberpunk in design. So a big waterfall wouldn't really like sit with what I would normally like paint, right? But because it's Black Panther like centric, and I have like those like panther statues as well, I could probably do a pretty good Wakanda like style diorama with all of them in the build and my buildings when I have them all together. That might be fun to photograph when I have them all like that. As you know, a lot of even current cyberpunk media assumes that it's set in either Tokyo or like wherever Night City is in cyberpunk, like Chicago or whatever. No, Chicago's Shadowrun. But you know, a sprawl in the US or Tokyo. So the idea of having a cyberpunk kind of setup that is very specifically in a different place in the world, I think would be a fun diorama to have.
Yeah.
Afrofuturistic cyberpunk. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm about. That's my energy. A project that I think I've talked about a handful of times off air, and it's not a project real enough yet for a big on-air thing, but I really want to do a tabletop / writing anthology called Black British Cyberpunk, inviting Black Britons to go and describe a cyberpunk world that we can play in a way that's separate from the kind of 80s cynophobia that early cyberpunk is, or the like very gun-toting oorah cyberpunk that is what is like 2077 and such now, right? Yeah. You know, I think there's a very different energy. There is an urban sprawl that also exists in the UK that is not really reflected in any popular media, and I think having a book that explored that would be very cool.
Yeah, in a like similarly, like I think a lot of Ray Najadi's work, where it's kind of like Filipino inspired cyberpunk, is just kind of like,
Yeah. Their stuff is astounding. They've kind of gone from strength to strength in the stuff that Ray's released, because Apocalypse Keys has done very, very well. I've not played that yet though.
Yeah, the project that I don't have enough details about to share, that's a Apocalypse Keys actual play, and very exciting. That game is so fun.
Well, you know, if you ever need a guest player, I'm around. I'm available. Especially considering, you know, I have been affectionately described by people as horny for mysteries. An enthusiasm for mystery tabletop games is part and parcel of the brand at this point, I think. Okay. This is going. Right. Let me think. Oh man, I have so much paint on my hands. This base is not dried properly at all. I went in too thick. It turns out that when you use cheap paint, it also doesn't dry very fast. Yeah. No, that is on the list to try. I am very keen to run Girl by Moonlight myself.
Oh, yeah, I've heard good things about that game.
Yeah, I mean, I already really like Blades in the Dark, and I like the nature of Magical Girl queer storytelling. So a game that is both of those things is a very easy sell for me. And the actual player I was invited on last year was a fun time, so I want to explore that a bit more. But it's going to be an off-air game that I have in mind. I want to kind of try and play just off-air in general more. There are many people in my life that manage to kind of do that kind of thing on a regular basis, and I am fucking jealous.
Oh, isn't that a mood?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have what I'm calling a D&D setting that I'm kind of like noodling on, where I really want to run an offline game. But I really want to run it in Pathfinder 2e, but it's just that kind of like, the setting I have in mind is so anti-alignment, and Pathfinder alignment actually matters.
Oh, for real?
I
I didn't know that.
in Pathfinder. I have to run it in 5e.
Annoying.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. To be fair, most of the people I know in real life have only played D&D.
Yeah, so it's an easy sell for them at the very least. Sure. I get you. Okay, where to go from here? We need to start thinking about building that transition from dark blue to brick red, which might be a contrast paint dealie. We might get a bit of a thin Hive Dweller purple going on. Hive Dweller purple from Speed Paint, Army Painter, is a very, very, very dark purple. But if I thin it down, then it might still let me get a lot of that red purple base coat texture through that I can work with, especially if I can cut it with some medium. I do have some medium somewhere. Oh, I got like a matte varnish recently. That might do. Oh, I should have some Lamy medium. Yeah, I have contrast technical medium. That should do it. Usually drying time's on an issue, Sam. It's more just because this stuff is super cheap craft paint. It does not play by normal miniature painting rules, so I'm taking some time to adjust. I'm just gonna switch up the jams. This has been going for a bit. Let's get that going. All right.
I've been reading. I don't know if you've heard of like the anime Blue Period.
Yeah. I know it.
I've been reading the manga. And even though I don't have the patience to learn how to draw, like it's been really making me want to learn how to like oil paint. I'm just kind of like, if I'm gonna learn art, like I need to get like sketching down first.
Okay, yeah, no, this is a transition I think is working quite nice.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little thin. I might need to do more than I may have thinned it too much. Let's try the thicken, and that's too thick. Okay. So we're just gonna navigate. But I like this dark purple as it sits here, and I can get some dry brushing and stippling on to kind of lighten it back up afterwards. But at least for the lower parts of this could do quite well. The humidity in my flat is wild. Base coats literally take 20 to 30 minutes to dry. Oh, yeah. No, I would not have the patience to wait for that kind of thing to finish. I'm better than I used to be, but I was pretty notorious for accidentally tearing up an already painted layer because I wanted to paint a new layer on too quickly. So,
Also, yeah, the problem is less like passion and more like the discipline and routine. Gestures. Hang on, I have. Let me just count how many unfinished projects I have in this folder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 unfinished TTRPGs just in.
I mean, yeah.
my Google Drive, just because that's not that, and that's only TTRPGs.
And sometimes the hey, this is why we're doing the Soulquarians style crafting project, because then you can pitch them to the other folks who are also doing it. They might be able to be like, yeah, work on this one. Oh, this one definitely has legs. That kind of thing is definitely, I think, useful, because that will definitely narrow down a project, right? Being kind of like, oh no, this one genuinely has legs. We know that this one is going to go the distance. We know that there's an audience that are horny for this one.
Yeah. And I definitely love having to kind of comment on your last comment, Sam. I definitely love having a folder stuffed full of unfinished projects, where I'm just kind of like, ooh, the creative juices. But there are just kind of like how you were talking earlier with the kill team. There's definitely a feeling of just kind of I want to be done with one of these projects.
Starting projects when inspiration strikes you is great. Finishing projects is better.
Yeah.
No, for sure. No, I think there is definitely value in being willing to just start a project even if you don't know the hows and whys. I am notoriously a perfectionist. It is actually, honestly, a problem, because it means I will have great ideas and then be like, I shouldn't start them. I shouldn't start that idea until I really know where I'm going and have all my ducks in a row and I'm fully ready to start. And it just means that, I will never really get round to starting that project properly. And it sucks, especially if other people are waiting for you. There's VTubing tabletop collective thing that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and have been the people that I've had on board for it have also been excited for it. But I think they're kind of waiting for me to pull the trigger on things. And I'm like, yeah. I just need to get all these other projects done first. And I want my launch to be amazing and perfect and have a cool introductory video and specialist artwork. And I can't afford the specialist artwork right now. So I guess it's just going to have to wait a bit until I'm ready. And that's just a great way to never have the thing be fucking done. So trying to being willing and excited to just jump into projects is, I think, a very important an important skill. This is turning out. Speaking of something, I lent my laser cutter to someone. They lost the power cable. Oh no. Oh yeah. So for my birthday, Sam got me, we in a conversation we had previously, I had mentioned that I like the adage, but do not necessarily stick to the adage. Done is better than perfect. Yeah. Especially when it comes to the realms of miniature painting, when you can fuss forever on getting something perfectly right. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person. I just want to, get into a position where things are table ready, and trying to do that more, not worrying about Instagram ready, just table ready. But it's sometimes good to have a reminder that done is better than perfect. And so Sam, because they are a very kind and caring individual, wanted to use their laser cutter to make me a little sign that I can have on my desk that says it. So I can have it in eyeline and probably be on stream, actually, when I stream miniature painting stuff. So it could be a reminder to everyone as well. But their initial testing had some things about it that they wanted to change. It wasn't quite right. So it got deferred while they were working to make it perfect. And I'm like, you know what? That makes the gift even better. I love that. I love that. I love that both of us fall victim to this very specific kind of silly issue.
3 hours.
Oh my god. But that's 3 hours of you genuinely putting into something you care about, because you care about me. And so that's really nice. I think it's really heartwarming that you would spend all that time working on something for me like that, even though it goes ardently against the reason of the why you were doing it. I think that's very sweet of you. Okay. Yeah, this is unifying it more. Sure, the stone around it, I guess because I'm dulling down some of the blue. So the area is tinted blue, but it's not like the bright blue like the waterfall anymore. So that is good and is making sense. I like this. I did get a little bit of brown there. I'll see if I can remove that in a bit. I have a feeling it's quite water soluble, so I'll be able to remove it. Yeah, no, this is a very... I mean, I guess I was expecting the color story to be a little strange. It has ended up stranger than I ever expected it would be. But maybe after the Flower Night and using really strong colors there to do interesting things, that's now sitting in my head as a thesis statement. I said that sign can't stop me because I can't read. Yes, absolutely. Okay, another 2 drops of 5 purple. We might need to switch to a brighter color for the... What? Employing color theory to chat here. I think there is probably a third contrast color I should employ when we get to the top of the miniature here. This needs to be tinted, but I don't think it should be tinted purple. What color do you think the kind of upper reaches of this mini should be tinted in? It needs to be brighter than dark purple and can sit alongside a brick red. It might be just red. Like an aged bronze ATM. Sure. I do want to pull it darker. And we're going to be, you know, doing some dry brushing to kind of like bring out the edges and stuff. I do think it needs an additional layer color to get it where it needs to be. Maybe, I mean, I enjoy my kind of wine reds. Maybe I can even do a mix. I can use the kind of like the wine red contrast that GW has and mix it with another paint. There is like an earthy wood brown that speed paint has. But I tend to use for skin a lot. Maybe that would be a nice complement to the purple and still stay within this kind of color story up top. Honestly, I'm too reserved when it comes to color selection, so trust your gut. I mean, I am definitely in my era of swinging for the fences when it comes to color choice. But it's a lot of fun to be bold like that, you know? There is something about people being kind of like, oh, I wouldn't have chosen that color myself. I'm like, yeah, you didn't. Especially since I'm giving myself permission, I suppose, to be a bit slapdash with my coloring. Because, you know, when you're working on the minis and they're so fucking like tiny and delicate, and you're painting in individual pupils and stuff, and it's like, you know, you have one of those jeweler magnifying glasses that like goes dee 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 over like layers of multiple lenses that layer over one eye, so you're like super zoomed in. That's a way of approaching to these things, but also sometimes you can just with terrain like this, where people are definitely not looking at it with as much scrutiny, you can just be obnoxious about it. As a snow, I mean, I see you. I see you. Silent Sculpt, Golgo 13, up in here. The intent wasn't to read you for filth. I feel about this, about my own miniatures sometimes, in that painting process of like, oh no, it needs to be. I can't move on until I have done so many. Actually, I do get bored if it feels like a part of the process is like, oh, what do you mean I have to do 8 layers for this? Can it be? Have you considered it just be done? Have you considered that it's just over now and I don't have to do 8 layers? Actually, that would be fantastic. So I do tend to occasionally skip out on doing it the hard way or whatever. But also it's nice to just finish pieces. Done is better than perfect.
Yeah,
Done is
I'm
better
definitely
than perfect.
that way about painting my nails, which I bring up because I'm currently painting my nails very messily.
Nice. What color?
It's kind of like, sure, I could do another layer, or I could just put a top coat on and not have to worry about it. As for the color question, I bought 2 new bottles yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Like one's a metallic blue, and the other one is this kind of like darkish purple. So I'm just putting both on.
Yeah, I mean, I love a strong dual tone bottom coat, and then a metallic or like glitter top coat on top of that. Always, ooh.
No, as in I'm doing some of my nails the blue and some of my nails the purple.
Ah, sure. Okay.
No, I mean, that's definitely a good idea. Although the blue, so I've only done 1 layer of it, and it is fairly like opaque. So I don't know if it's gonna layer well. Well, actually, the purple's dark enough that it might work. Yeah,
you can. Usually, it'll still look so. The color I have on now, this kind of like gold, I have an espresso brown underneath, actually, so it's tinted slightly red. Like, even though you will definitely see the top coat more, being able to kind of give a bit of a color nudge by doing a different kind of hue on the base coat, it can actually be really effective. Sorry, I'm looking for a paint. I'll be right back. I'm listening.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I can imagine having like a stream, like giving you a timer is very helpful when it comes to like perfectionism.
There was a charity stream I was doing last year that was like here we go, dark wood. And let's see if I can find the wine red, where I had 4 different minis that I would be painting in pride flag colors, and people could donate to the Trevor Project to say which mini they wanted painted, and I would switch to whatever was in the lead, and the stream was a finite length of 2 hours long. And after the first hour, the most popular miniature in terms of donation changed. So I essentially painted 2 minis in 2 hours, and that was an interesting time. I definitely felt the time crunch on that.
That sounds like a great donation incentive, but also kind of hellish.
Oh, it was good. I have since gone back to like finish the details, but this was one of the minis that I painted for that event. I really like this fairy sculpt. It's very good. It is painted in the I think I want to say gender fluid pride flag. It's like white periwinkle blue, pink and magenta. And then there was like a hacker lady with a gun, like that's parkouring around, that I painted in the non-binary flag. Where is this other paint? I'm so sorry. One I use a lot, so that's why I'm surprised that I can't immediately find it. Every so often, I kind of reorganize my kit to make sure that all my paints are easily accessible and in a reasonable order. But it seems in this instance, this specific paint has decided that it demands the emancipation of Mimi and has just fully left the building. It's kind of annoying. I do have a more aggressive magenta I can use, but I am less sure of that being the right move under current circumstances. But we may have to be brave and try it anyway if I can't find this other color. That's one way to get you to experiment, is just to remove your other options. What's the Doomfire Magentas? It's me. Oh, here we go. Volupus Pink. It's not pink, it's like a wine red. I don't know why it's called this.
Ooh, very bloodcore.
Fortunately, it's still quite a thin mixture, so it doesn't have the... There are a couple of like blood-colored contrast paints that are actually also texture-wise thick and goopy, and they suck to work with. So you didn't need to make this the consistency of coagulating blood. It just needed to be the color. Okay. So we have our wine red. Gonna give this maybe a single drop of... Yeah, we need a single drop of dark wood. Ooh, okay. Right, let's see. Where can I place this on the mini in a way that's not going to? Let's do some of the panther head in it. Is this movie too dark? I mean, I don't hate it.
Oh, I can see why they call it pink. I know you just mixed it with stuff.
Yeah.
I get it.
With a wash and some dry brushing, I think we can get this back to feeling brownish. But I do like how rich this is. Okay. Interesting. It is darker than I would like, though. Let's do the other side of the head, just for symmetry's sake, and then maybe work with just the brown on its own and see if that gets it there. Can be a degree of wet blending that can help unify the color a bit. God, it looks very red on camera. But it is still showing the color depth of the stuff that it's painting over the top of, which is what we want. We don't want a color that's so bold and obnoxious that it just dominates everything underneath it and you don't get any of the color depth that you spent time putting in. So not the end of the world. I'm still into this. We're gonna put a couple drops here. And is this too dark now? This is too dark. Oh, no, I don't like how dark this is. Okay. The red was actually brighter. It was the red that was brightening it, not the... okay, right. Well, this stuff is slightly water soluble, so I can go in with a wet brush and just kind of even that out a little bit. I can wick away some of that.
Yeah, and it's starting to look just kind of like shadow rather than actual pigment, like as you started to wash that out.
Especially once we can kind of remove the front surfaces to lighten that up a lot. Okay, that's not so bad. Okay, so not the dark wood on its own. That's not what we're looking for. Yeah. Okay. I like that this tiger has blush now.
Oh my god.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, flushed. Ooh la la, said the tiger. We do have a lighter contrast brown. Let's whip that one out and see if that better cool. Hardened leather. All miniatures go through their ugly phase for a bit before they settle on something that actually works, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I am also just gonna.
No worries. Yep, no worries. We can get a stretch on. That is a much more feasible brown, I think.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely a lot better.
Okay. Yeah. It's a little bit patchy. We might want to still mix that with a color, but all right, let's stretch. Oh, I felt my elbow click there. That stretch was clearly needed. Yeah, feeling good.
Yeah.
All right. Knowing that that is what that is, let's maybe clear our brush. I'm gonna need to get new blotting paper. Get some contrast medium in there to thin it down. And see if we can't unify it a little bit with the red that's going around near it. Yeah, that's saving a little bit. And it's also because I'm doing it while it's wet and wicking it away from the raised areas. This is still, something that this is even though I've sprayed the base coat, so we've set the tone for the hues of the piece in general, but this is still essentially base coat 2, where we're blocking in the colors of what we want it to actually be, and then there is the detail stage. Yeah. So we can still afford to be loosey-goosey here in terms of where we're putting our paint, because we can refine it in so much more.
Oh, also, hey, can you show the face of the panther again to camera?
It's got a lot of color depth going on now. It's definitely more tiger-like than panther at this point, because it's kind of got an orange in there. But
it was kind of feeling tigery when you were like painting in the that dark purple into the folds, but it's looking really cool.
No, this is all we are fully experimenting. I have never done anything like this before. I did not know how any of this was going to turn out as we go. We are just shooting for the moon with this, but I am definitely enjoying the range of color we are getting. We are not being like, stone is brown. We're just kind of just, you know, getting a whole range. It's stone is purple. Stone is slightly blue sometimes, you know. Who is to say what color stone should be? We are the people who decides what color stone should be.
So I know I bring this up every one of your painting streams, but like, there's no need to like follow like an actual like guide for colors. Like, use what colors live in your heart.
Color theory is a useful thing to know, but in terms of like just kind of like, oh, the Space Marines need to be like one of the established canon chapters. If it's not that specific shade of green, then it can't be a salamander. And I'm like, okay. Sure, Jan. Yeah, I'm gonna need a new paper towel, but that's fine. I'm gonna be going over this part in white anyway. Actually, I might be able to get away with doing those parts in blue, but it's going. I'm okay. I'm gaining confidence as we as I add more and commit to the bit more. My kind of like, yeah, this is working is increasing as we go. Also, the orange is a nice contrast to the blue sitting on either sides of the color wheel. So entirely unintentional, but we still did it. We managed to be high artists entirely unintentionally. I love that for us. As part of what I'm gonna need to do is very carefully paint over. There's a lot of like vines and foliage that are scattered over the rock, and I need to paint all that in white so I can then paint it in green. And I just painted over the river again. Shit. I'm not necessarily dreading doing that fine detail step, but it is a lot of tiny bits of foliage, and I definitely know that if I'm not paying attention, I will miss some. So I will need to keep my head on a swivel. Yeah, the fact that speed paints are, especially the first generation of speed paints, are reactivated by water to a degree, so if you make a mistake, you can just kind of go in with a damp brush and rub off a lot of the mistake. Very useful. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh. This is looking downright surreal at this point. This is you know, like in the Black Panther movies, they like drink the heart-shaped herb potion and just go to like the ancestor verse in this kind of big purple abstract kind of like mountain area, and this is definitely feeling like that.
I'm sorry, you saying ancestor verse just took me out.
I like Black Panther 1. Some of the sequences in it are charming. But it is very Black Panther Enter the Ancestorverse is very, very much how I would describe those sequences. I mean, the Ancestorverse is also in Avatar, right? Where there's like the shot of them looking down the line of ancestors is very much the same energy.
I mean, I guess, yeah. Oh no. Okay.
Said affectionately, they're not bad sequences, but
I know. It's just the phrase Ancestorverse is just still really funny to me. also, unrelated. Like, I know you did the eyes first, but like the green eyes and like the kind of like red color palette around it is
Poppin'.
so like, yeah.
Yeah. Now I was working on something that had fluoro green, and I'm like, well, I still have fluoro green like on my paintbrush. Let me go and pull this off the shelf and like dab some in the eyes and see if that does what I need it to. And yeah. I think we've got all the kind of upper areas now in the color. Yeah, I'm feeling positive about this. Getting it in just some of the areas in the top of the cave area. I might have to stipple some of this in black after the fact. Okay. Yeah, okay, right. Go off, king, etc. A little bit up the underside of this rock. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Next steps then. The detailing in white is probably going to be the next step. There's some of the rocks in the pond. The rocks in the pond should also probably be tinted correctly, or at least be splodged with a bit of the contrast color, so I know that they're rocks and not water, so I can go in later and color them in correctly. But just to remind myself. And then at some point, when I go back to finishing the Killmonger and Black Panther miniatures, remembering the kind of like process I used to paint this, so I can paint them in a similar color story, so when they actually sit in the little dishes here, they look correct, is also a thing I need to do. But that's in time. There's no rush for that. I mean, already this looks like a thing. I'm actually very pleased with how this is going, considering I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants a little bit here. This is good. I'm into this. All right. Not to gas myself up.
I think it's earned.
Oh, thank you. All right. Let me, step one, switch the tunes, and then step two, switch to a thinner brush. We're entering into detail work. Going for a much thinner brush than the thicker sable brush I was using. We want kind of a mixture of, so I really like the So Flat acrylic. This stuff is super opaque and dries super matte, but it's also quite thick and needs a lot of careful thinning, and these are quite expensive actually. You can buy them in a bundle sometimes, and sometimes like places like CasArt and stuff have them on sale. But they're the kind of things that you get like one or two of in some specific colors, and you get so much in terms of miniature painter, you're set for a solid while. These are very much designed to be like traditional artist paints, right? So we're going to use the thick brush again to kind of get it into my paint palette. I should be able to pick up enough. Get that in there. Excellent. And then we should have our white ink. What's the white? Do I have that here? Scale 75 intensity white ink. This stuff is very, very fluid, but but it's also quite translucent and it's almost too runny. It probably works incredibly out of an airbrush, but when used by regular brush, there's a lot of mixing it into other paints to kind of give it a bit more hold on whatever you're trying to do.
When you call it ink, like, is it actually designed to be like ink used from like a pen?
No,
a type of paint.
So it is still an ink. The usually when people describe what inks are, it's about the ratio between pigment and medium. So you can have acrylic inks as well as water-based ink.
Right.
Fountain pens specifically use water-based ink. The acrylic medium will clog the mechanics of your brush if you try and use an acrylic ink. Dip pens can use acrylic ink though, because they do not have a mechanism to clog. Yeah, now we've got this mixture of the very opaque but slightly too thick golden so flat and the very runny but kind of translucent Inkintensity ink. We've got something with a bit more coverage but also pretty reasonable spread. It's very willing to run into the crevices, which can sometimes have a bit of an effect where it's like the recesses are light but the raised areas are dark. That's solved by having more than one coat across it. But we want to pick out all these water areas near the top of the mini that have been colored quite dark, which is my fault. It means I painted over it accidentally. But very much highlighting.
You're gonna go over the white with the blue again.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And we can use contrast blue. We might even use a little bit of fluorescent ink in some places to really make the highlights go.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is all about just kind of like being a painting guide for us later. Doing the work in finding where all the specific bits that I need to color in specific ways now, and then later knowing exactly where I need to place my brush. There's also a little bit of cleanup because obviously I've gotten some browns and stuff where they shouldn't be. And this is a good opportunity to color correct them at this stage. It's also quite relaxing actually when it's sometimes the miniature painting process is like a lot of thinking very hard to put it that way. There's just like, oh my gosh, I need to pay attention to my shadows. There's a lot of detail that I need to capture in this specific part. And then there's other times where it's just like, oh yeah, no, I'm just coloring in. I'm just like a 5-year-old with a coloring book right now, living my best life. And to be honest, those times are delightful to have, where it's just like, oh, you know, I know exactly where my brush needs to be placed, and I'm just gonna go place it there for however long it takes to go and color in all these bits and pieces. The vines are also gonna be a thing that I need to kind of like slowly color back in. Sorry, you were saying?
No, that's all right. I feel like a lot of crafts are like that, where like you have like the periods where you need to like think harder than you've ever thought in your life. And then like I think like like especially thinking of like stuff like knitting and crochet, where like you have to do the complex calculus of figuring out like how on earth you're going to turn all this yarn into a 3D object.
Yeah.
Like, there are like periods where just one stitch after another.
Yeah, now I'm just on a Where's Wally like visual hunt where all the vines are and just picking them out in white so I know to color them green later. And I know I will miss some. I know I will miss some when I go in with the green being like, oh man, fuck. This needed to be white. Fortunately, this is just oh, that's a little thick. That's okay. Fortunately, this is just to essentially detail catch. We're probably going to be using a relatively opaque green, and being able to get a little bit of the color story underneath is the thing we still want. So it's all right if some of the stuff that we're painting now and miss and have to go back in green over like the darker base coat will still be green. It will just have a little bit of a hint of the other colors underneath, and that is a-okay.
Yeah.
This sculpt is actually very kind and it's doing the leaves without necessarily painting in individual vines for all of them, which I love and respect, because that would be annoying. And actually, considering the darkness of the rock, the contrast of all this white really stands out now.
Yeah, like I think the like the white on the other side like definitely blends in, but I guess that's because when you kind of like follow it, it kind of goes into the light blue. But here, on the side you're working on,
yeah,
now, the white
it's much more sudden. Yeah. Some of the tips of the kind of splashed water here needs to be kind of tinted white anyway, and I'm going to be hitting most of this with a blue contrast paint in a bit. Yeah. At least the waterfalls up here. There's a nice bright blue that I have that I think would be a...
I guess it's a good indication that like when you go in with the like much less intense color, like it's still gonna be good as like a highlight, even if it's not like bright white.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a lot of foliage on this side actually. Let's start at the top rather than trying to hop around randomly. Can we still see? We can still see. Yeah, the new camera setup has actually been very good. If you've seen my previous streams, my camera was definitely a lot closer to the table. And I recently bought myself a shock mount, one that you would like connect a microphone to otherwise, with an attachment head so I can screw my webcam into it. So my camera is now sitting above my head. I mean, you can see it in my camera here.
I could see it, yeah. I didn't notice it until you pointed it out, but yeah.
And I got a portable light from Will as a birthday present, which has been very useful. So it's a teeny tiny light that I can set anywhere, which means I can clip it directly to my mount and light my, and it's actually been very, very good to paint by. It has about maybe 3 hours of battery life by itself, but I've got it plugged in, so it just keeps running. Yeah, there are people I know that have like full on, you know, DSLRs or whatever for their camera, and I have considered that multiple times, and every time I consider it, I realize I cannot afford that shit. So the fact that I can still use my secondary older webcam, and just by giving it the correct amount of height and lighting it correctly, still gives an actually very good picture, is good. I'm glad that it can still be of use, instead of just kind of like, oh no, technology's moved on. You can no longer use this potato for your stream practices.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like for my webcam, I use my laptop's internal mic, so not webcam. So I'm just kind of feel like I don't know shit about cameras.
I mean, for
I'm
work, for sure. But yeah, no. When I decided that I resolved to be a streamer, there was definitely part and process of kind of like deciding what kind of webcam I would want to get and stuff. This one was actually previously my my main webcam.
Yeah.
And then I was able to actually, I think thanks to chat donations, get enough money for an Elgato face cam, which is what the main one is. It is very solid quality and very good at kind of like lighting correction, and can light and capture my skin tone without making me look like Ashy or a shadow with teeth. But part of its like the way that it works is that it doesn't have focusing within it. It's only a single focus.
Oh.
So it works. It's focused perfectly for where it would be placed to capture your face, but otherwise it has garbage depth perception. So I can't use it as like a hand cam, but it works great as a face cam. I think I remember I was doing a pack opening of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, the Wizards of the Coast like PR people. It was my first instance of working with them, and they gave me quite a few cards, and I was like, oh well, it needs to be super good, so I'm going to use my super good webcam to be able to capture the footage. And it was just so difficult to get anything in focus. None of the cards were readable, and I was like, oh well, all right then, I guess if it's going to be so fuzzy, then I might as well use my old webcam. And then my old webcam actually just happened to be better for that specific purpose. Go figure.
Yeah, definitely nice, especially when you do like a lot of streams where you need to record your desk.
And I would like to do miniature painting streams more, actually. I always enjoy them when I did them in the past. It was kind of finding the time. Picture quality is more than good enough. Yeah, you're able to see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Is there any other plant matter or water detail that I'm not capturing here? Not really. Okay. How long have we been going for? Is it time for a break? I think it's time for a break. I think it's time for a stretch and a rehydrate, everybody. So, even though I'm feeling pretty good, I know that if I just continue to paint while feeling good, I will get up from my chair and go, oof, ouch, my bones. So I think now is an excellent time for everybody to kind of get up and go for a bit of a walk, realign your chakras, go get a snack. I relate to the hard to the camera struggles when I recorded my talking head for YouTube video. I tried 3 different camera kind of thing and ended up just using my phone. Yeah, phone cameras, especially the back-facing cameras, are genuinely really good for shooting footage, but I find them really fiddly to use because all the interface is on the other side of the fucking thing. But yeah. Anyway, I'm going to see you all in 5 minutes. I'll see you all in a bit. All right, everybody. Hi, welcome back. How y'all doing? Did you all have a good stretch as well? genuinely, I was like, the slow, like, hanging over, like, not actively trying to touch my toes, but just leaning forward and letting the weight of my body stretch the back of my legs for like a minute. It felt so fucking good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Oh, also, before I forget, I did mention, like, half of the, like, sponsoring of this stream, Atomic Mass Games sending me this Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff. But also, I have a second sponsor today, which I'm very surprised by. Insert Coin Apparel, who sent me this very cool Persona 5 t-shirt. Oracle wears this as part of her like casual outfit. As well as they also sent me Chai's like pink lightning bolt hoodie from Hi-Fi Rush.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's very cozy. It's very cozy.
Oh, do you know what?
They've been
check them out.
So thank you for doing the command. You beat me to it. But yeah. They've been sponsoring a handful of people from Black Twitch UK recently. So you know they're giving those POC streamers some recognition, which is always appreciated. But I've worn Insert Coin stuff for years because they're a video game luxury like apparel brand that are UK based, meaning shipping does not cost a horrendous amount of money, at least if you're here. There's actually, you know what? Do you remember Journey when that game came out, like the PS3 game?
I mean, I don't remember when it came out, but I do know the game. Yeah.
So they did a scarf for it in the same, it looks like the same scarf. I've had that scarf for like what is now probably a decade, because that game came out in like 2009, so longer than a decade. And I still wear it. I still wear it on cold days. It's been my go scarf to wear to work. So there, even though this was supplied to me for free, but it is a brand I have actually worn on and off for genuinely years and years. So yeah, I do believe they were talking about, I think they have a new line of stuff coming in. I think they have a new Assassin's Creed line. No. They have a new fucking Bloodborne. I think they have an Elden Ring line coming out. I'm really good at advertising their products.
They have an Elden Ring line. Do they have Bloodborne? They don't have Bloodborne yet. They might be coming out. But
yeah, they're working apparently on having all of the Souls-like From Software series stuff as apparel in one way or another. But as far as I'm concerned, they had stuff from Persona 3, 4, and 5. And their Yakuza stuff is also really nice, but I can't afford their bomber jackets, so I am happy. I am happy with my scarf, this tee, and drop the lid, and the Hi-Fi Rush hoodie, which I will wear on a different occasion. I actually have a mini that I've painted in Chai's outfit colors, but I've not finished it. So I might do a fun fashion miniature photo shoot combo when I finish that mini. That might be a good thing to kind of do together. Thinking of ways to do promotion for other companies live on air.
Speaking of Persona, have you been playing Reload?
I have not. I am in a I cannot afford to buy video games moment in my life right now. So I'm kind of working through the stuff I already have. I would like to, because I actually owned Persona 3 Festival, like on the PS2, way back when, and didn't get very far. I just kind of like lost interest and fell off it. And then Persona 4 came out, and I fucking devoured that game. I loved that game a lot, and then, you know, became a fan of the series as a whole, became part of the fandom. Naoto is a fantastic character who speaks to me on many levels, and they do her dirty in subsequent writings. But yeah, because the reload fixes a bunch of things that I was kind of mid about at the time. Mostly you not being able to control AI like partner decisions in combat, and social links of any women that you forge. After a certain point, you have to date them to get them to above certain levels.
Oh.
Yes, meaning that if you want to max out everyone's social link, you have to cheat on people.
I'm not surprised that was a thing.
I mean, to be honest, 3's thesis statement, or at least the character that you play in 3, is somebody who specifically is a nihilist in themselves and is only putting on these faces to get closer to people because they have the stuff that you want. It never really felt like you were genuinely trying to be friends with these people. You were putting on the face that they wanted to see, and that doesn't ring quite as true as like Persona 4 and 5. And I think that kind of method of thinking is obviously so now out of vogue compared to like 2008 when that game first came out. So I'm not surprised that they changed how it works, but it did make me very unenthusiastic to play P3 as the guy. Persona 3 Portable, where there's an entire separate campaign where you play as a female lead, you do not have to date any of the men in that game. So they were clearly aware of it by that point. But if you played the male main character, it was still mandatory. And at this stage, they've fixed it. They also removed a very transphobic beach arc that was in the original game. Initially, you and Junpei go to the beach on summer holiday to find some fly honeys. And the fly honey is a trans woman. They react to that in the exact way you would expect a JRPG in 2008-9 to react to that.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Great.
So they removed it now, which, good. She's now a conspiracy theorist, apparently. And that's why they're kind of like, Jesus, what the fuck is wrong with you, and run away. Which, you know what? Fine. That's better. I think that's quite a funny way of resolving that.
Good for her.
You know, glad that she is in the body that she's comfortable with as much tinfoil as she needs to do her daily routine. So yeah, because they made a bunch of quality of life and kind of needed narrative structural changes, I am actually quite interested in playing Reload, but I can't really afford to right now, so it'll be a thing that will happen in the future.
Yeah, that's fair. I've mostly been watching it. Like, I don't have a lot of experience with Persona other than half watching my friend stream 5 Royal. And it was mostly us just doing bits while Persona 5 was happening in the background. But yeah, like, it's been very fun, like, watching like another streamer like just kind of like play through it.
Who is your favorite character?
Oh,
sorry, I should be making sure I'm doing this actually on camera.
That's a great question, because I don't really like any of them.
Yes. Yukari is a bit of a wet blanket. Junpei is just flatly unlikable, and as far as I understand, he probably doesn't get better. And Akihiko and Mitsuru are genuinely cool, and they're written that way because, you know, they're your senpais. So
I feel like, at least at the moment, like, the stream is only in April, so, like, who knows? But, like, it feels like that's their only, like, personality trait at the moment, and I'm just kind of a bit like...
I like punching things. I'm rich.
Like, where is Ryuji? What did they do with my son?
I got on with Ryuji, but I think he was my least favorite Phantom Thief.
I think the element of Ryuji I like most is like the headcanons me and my friends came up with while playing. Like, that's the Ryuji I miss. Like, I don't remember what canon Ryuji's actually like.
Canon Ryuji is like, oh boy, I hope people will recognize our efforts as Phantom Thieves, and everybody's like, shut up. We're in public. What are you doing? Which, you know, his heart is in the right place. He is an idiot.
Yeah. I think my favorite characters might be the elderly couple running the bookstore.
Oh, the Hierophant Link. Yeah. You'll be an apt surrogate for our currently not here son. And you're like, yeah, of course. I'm more than happy to do that. They are good. I mean, you know, I think Persona 3 sits with a lot of people, because I think it sits with a lot of people in the same way that The World Ends With You sat with me in 2006 when I played it. Which is, you know, a game about modern urban culture and feeling like you were displaced from that because you are bad at making connections with other people. And when that happens for long enough, you, because you're 16, will tell yourself that you don't need connections with other people. And The World Ends With You is just this big JRPG thesis statement on, hey, the only way you will have a worldview worth a shit is by being open to learning new things from other people. And at 16, that's a pretty good fucking message. That lived in my head rent-free for many years. And P3's, like, big thesis statement, it's not a spoiler to mention because all of the Persona games are quite clear on what their thesis statements are. Like, Persona 4 is about truth versus lies, and Persona 5 is about freedom versus oppression. Persona 3 is very specifically is about life and death and how people, you know, react to the idea of death. Ooh, let's not drop the thing. That would be a good and cool thing to do, but I do need to hold this upside down.
Oh, I love how I heard you say that over Discord, but the stream was not caught up yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like, oh, what happens? And then I saw it, and I was just kind of like, oh god, oh god.
It's fine. It didn't land in any paint, so we haven't fucked it yet.
Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah. So, you know, that thesis statement of kind of like what it means to kind of think quite seriously about death and the people you might be leaving behind is, I think, when you're of a certain age, a very provocative or thought-provoking thing to raise in a video game. And there were not many other video games at the time, at least not JRPGs anyway, that were interested in talking about that. In the same way that I think Persona 4 really struck me. Have you seen any of Persona 4?
No, I know like elements of like the setting and the kind of like conceit, but I've not seen any of it.
There are two characters that are queer, and I would like to kind of talk about the context and under which they are queer, but I don't know whether that would bug you as a story spoiler.
I genuinely don't care about spoilers in any most if any media. So
and this is a very old game at this point, so I think cultural osmosis is probably highlighted for the people that would be interested in P4. But there is one character, Kanji Tatsumi, and his main narrative is people assume that he's gay, and he, being a teenager who doesn't know himself yet, doesn't know if he's gay and is eager to prove them wrong and unsure of what to do if they're right. And so it means that his headspace is stuck in some very negative stereotypes about queer people. But at the end of it, it kind of like, you know, at the end of the narrative, at least in the main game that was released on the PS4 forever ago, resolves that he realizes that, oh, you know, he's his own person. He might be gay, but for now, he is the person that he is. And his hobbies and interests don't really define him as a person. And I'm like, that's great. You know, it's an entire, at the time that I played it, it's an entire story about a character going through the idea of burgeoning sexuality that they don't fully understand and then coming to terms with it, but not necessarily solving it for himself.
Yeah, that is really cool.
And that's then followed by another player character, Naoto Shirogane, who frames themselves as a young boy detective. And they're very good at what they do, but they're not treated very seriously because they are A, young, they are the same age as the main characters who are teenagers, and B, AFAB.
Yeah.
And so they have very complicated feelings about their gender identity, and even kind of wish that they could go through, reassignment surgery so they can be more comfortable and exist in a way where they can be treated seriously as a person. And in a very similar fashion to Kanji, resolves in a way that doesn't set their gender, just the fact that it's something that they have accepted about themselves, that these are all of the boss fights in Persona 4 are people who are rejecting thoughts that they're having about themselves, and that gives their shadow form power. So once they accept that there is a facet of themselves that they find hard to accept, that's what makes the monster go away. So it's pretty easy to have a reading of them accepting their own gender and sexuality in those, and the nature of the story doesn't dissuade that. However, Persona 4 was A, a very good game, and B, talking about these subject matters in a point of time where very few games were doing it. So the game became very popular. Because the game became very popular, Atlus then became very concerned about doing lots of other media that featured those casts of characters and giving those characters more lore. But it also made them considerably more conservative about the nature of those characters. So a lot of
that makes sense.
Future writing about Naoto and Kanji backpedal really heavily on their progress on their gender and sexuality identifying, where it then becomes Kanji just, accidentally says homoerotic things to his male friends without meaning to, and all his friends are like, pause, and he's like, I didn't mean that, why are you like that? I'm gonna solve my problems by punching things, because he's like the Ryuji of the game mechanically, like physical damage and Zio spells, so he's willing to go quite aggro from jump. And then Naoto is the same person, but it comes to light that her bust size is quite large, which, as far as anime is concerned,
what I was expecting you to say.
As far as anime is concerned, everybody's like, look at this large-breasted woman, and she's like, please stop staring at me, which, is a terrible way to kind of define her nature. Even if she does resolve that she wants to be referred to by she, her going forward, reducing her to such surface ideas of femininity is so fucking lazy. And Naoto was by far my favorite character in that game for so many reasons. So the fact that later writing in that game is so poor when it comes to her and Kanji genuinely makes me very sad. It is a thing that the Persona series has never been great at doing, unfortunately. As much as I like that series as a whole, it is its weakness. I don't think you have to worry about encountering anything like that in 3, though. I don't really think they talk about queer people at all in that game, so
no, I'd be surprised if they did. I feel like there was, in what I've seen of Reload, I feel like there have been some offhand. I think a lot of the time when characters are referring to sexuality. It's just like so much of like the other students at the school being really weird about Yukari.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of like, calm down.
I wonder where that goes, actually, as somebody who hasn't like done her social link. Whether it is just kind of like, because she, I think, is an exchange student. Like she wasn't always going to this area, this neck of the woods. So you know, maybe it's like, you know, oh, she's not from here, and we're gonna form rumors about this girl who is conventionally attractive and not from here. But I
think,
mm-hmm.
I think from the little context, like the little history, like I know of her. So I think she's been at the school like at least a year. So like they've had like at least a year of like her being their classmate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no. I don't think she is like a new student because Junpei mentions like being the new kid
mm-hmm.
at one point, and like I feel like if Yukari had also been like the quote unquote new kid, he would have mentioned that in the conversation.
True, fair enough. So yeah, I wonder whether I do wonder why they're being really weird.
I think it's just, well, like specifically the people who, so like there was like a rumor that Yukari and the MC were like dating because they walk in together on the first day, and then one of your social links has like a massive crush on her. So he's just kind of a freak.
Oh god, is it the magician social link?
Yeah, that guy.
Man. So, as I say, I have played like maybe about 5 to 10 hours of P3 back in the day, and I feel stronger about it now than I did as a teenager. I have a kind of like as an adult, zero tolerance for what I call anime nonce bullshit.
Yes.
And I don't need to explain what that means.
No.
So now, the idea of playing that and starting the magician social link, and he's like, I'm gonna date my teacher. I don't care if it reverses the social link with him. Every single time he brings that up, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing? You are a child.
That's his plot point?
Oh yeah, at least in the original writing. Maybe they've changed it. Maybe he's now crushing on Yukari specifically because they realize that's awful.
Yeah, no, so he's only ever talked about you, like he's obsessed with her, which is still gross and gives off bad vibes, but yeah, like he's never mentioned the teacher.
Okay, so they've rewritten that. Good.
Yeah, I do think the teacher might be like a weird social link, because like in your first conversation with her, you can ask her what her first name is in Reload. So I think they're gonna go weird places with it, but
as I recall, you do not date her. That is specifically in the realms of P5, where you regularly can date adults, because that's not a thing you can do in P4 either. So it was very strange that Persona 5 let you date like 2 to 3 adult women. Yeah, 3 different adult women. Jail.
Yeah, I can't with Persona 5.
It is such a good game mechanically and makes such poor decisions narratively. I think Persona 4 still sticks with, even though, yes, it is the Persona game I finished first, so there is a degree of like the one you played first properly bias there, but I still really like that game as one that has a genuinely good mystery story behind it that does wrap itself up properly. There are things about P5 that are interesting mysteries that do not land because they just don't really go the distance the way that they probably should. And hey, I've not seen the end of P3. I don't know whether it manages to stick its landing. I kind of hope it does. It's so beloved for people. You know, you'd want it to be good. I want it to be good for those folks.
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm hoping it's good. Like it's definitely like the conceit is definitely interesting. Like at the moment, and like again, like in the thing I'm watching, like I'm not very far through, or like at least the streamer isn't very far through. So like I haven't seen all of it, but at the moment, I do definitely think Persona 5 dungeon design is a lot more interesting. And I don't even just mean mechanically, I mean also kind of like the flavor of it.
Oh yeah, P3's dungeons are actively nothing.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, I wish like I do wish the dungeons kind of like I think the coolest thing about Persona 5 was how the dungeons were very much still rooted in reality, but like just a twisted version of reality. Whereas like at least Tartarus, which is the only one I've seen, just kind of feels like
that is the only dungeon
castle.
in that game.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Oh, that's even worse. Okay.
Yep.
And like I get it, like it was probably like a scope thing when
for
P3
sure.
was made. So it's kind of like historically, yeah, cool, but I'm also just kind of a bit like
I mean, they've added in a bunch more visual variety that wasn't present or was less apparent in the original release from what I've seen of like Tartarus and Reloaded. So there's stuff going on there, but it is very visually limited and has been historically. But it does have the cool thing. So I do appreciate the soundtrack of P3 was something that was just on my MP3 player throughout all of my time in sixth form. Like that was the soundtrack of me being 17. And it does a very cool thing where as the chapters progress and you unlock new areas of the tower as you keep going up, it's the same song, but it layers in a whole bunch more stuff as you go. So it what you hear very initially has that kind of and it doesn't build very much, but it keeps building as you go up the tower, which is a wonderful piece of design. I do love that.
Yeah, like I'm a big sucker for like dynamically like layering like pieces of music. Like the example like I think of like most often is like Tarrytown from Breath of the Wild, where like in this town like it's this one theme, but then like as part of the quest to build up the town up, like you have to go recruit all of these different people. And as you recruit them in whatever order you do, like the instruments of their people gets layered into the song, and it's I love it.
Yeah, dynamic soundtracking is a thing I genuinely adore. That kind of shit is great. So yeah, you have that to look forward to. Who are you watching, by the way? Is it Woolly Versus, or are you is it some...
I have no idea who that is.
No worries. It's a fighting game YouTuber who's been around the block for quite a while, but JRPGs is like their secondary thing, and they've picked up Reloaded. I think they were sponsored to do a couple streams of it, right? But you know, sometimes you get sponsored and the thing is so good you keep doing it anyway. So I've been working their way through.
Watching Snapcube.
Ah, yeah. I know Snapcube most through the Sonic dub stuff. I've not watched much of their non-Sonic content, I guess, but they are very funny. Alfred is very funny.
Yes, I started watching like her streams mostly for the Spider-Man games. And then I was just kind of like, I guess I'm adding this to the rotation of streamers I put on, because like I cannot be alone with my own thoughts.
I understand the feeling. I know what you mean. Yeah. No, Snapcube's good. I'm not surprised there are a bunch of fucking people streaming it at the moment. It is the hotness. One of the things I know that what I want to do is parts of this being painted in gold, And what I am using for gold as a base is Scale 75's Arabic Shadow. They have a bunch of like skin tone paints that actually acknowledge deep colored skin tone paints that acknowledge that they are skin tone paints and not called like fur or wood or whatever. But because this has a slight green undertone to it, like an olive skin undertone, it makes it very, very useful as a base color for gold. So I am adding hints of that to parts of this that I want to be gold colored. So when I add the gold metallic paints later, it will, in the same way, you know how I was talking about, you know, we have that for nail polishes having the jewel tone color and then the metallic on top. Yeah, exactly that theory. Where because metallic paint is essentially flakes suspended in a medium, the medium can often be slightly translucent. So, because they generally don't put, depending on the kind of type of metallic you're using, they generally don't put any pigment in the medium. It's just going to be the mica or usually mica flakes that they use. And then suspended in, you know, just a translucent color. So yeah, there'll be plenty to show through underneath whatever gold that I use. I actually have a gold contrast paint that I like a lot, and that will definitely show through bits and pieces. And I'm only really touching this brown to just some of the highlighted areas, just to make sure that the highlighted areas kind of have that hint of a golden brown in there already. It's all about doing that groundwork for some of the bits and pieces later. A special tool that will help us later. And like with all the other coloring that we've been doing so far, I can afford, even though I'm using a detail brush, I can afford to actually be quite fast and loose with it. Oh, we still have dry brushing to do, and the water. I've not really touched the water at all, actually. That might be a fun thing to do. I'd like to get some of the contrast paint on. I have so many options for how to proceed.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I guess it's being excited to do all the different bits and pieces in terms of how to proceed with this, which is cool. There are definitely projects I've done where it's been like, oh man, I'm sort of enjoying working on this, but working out how to proceed is a fucking trial. So I am glad for myself that working on this is actually, aside from those kind of initial experimental phases, this has actually been quite straightforward and easy to paint. Such a large surface area, it feels like it's hard to go wrong, really. Getting some of the lime ink in the eye over this white in there. The mottling of the eye actually looks quite nice. It makes it definitely feel more like it's a rough-hewn stone that's been set in there rather than it just being one kind of flat green.
Ooh, yeah. Like you can just barely see that on camera, but yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It kind of makes it look like a marble. Like not like marble like the stone, but like marble like the spheres.
A cat's eye, if you will.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay.
We did it. We did the joke together. That is a type of marble. You set it up. I knocked it down. Professional comedy duo, Rook and Nathan.
Professional.
We're going to be at the Fringe this year. Have you ever been to Edinburgh Fringe?
No, I've never been to Scotland.
Edinburgh is genuinely a very beautiful place to visit. I strongly recommend. But Edinburgh Fringe is like the event for independent live performance in the UK. Generally populated by comedians, but there's lots of stage theatre and live music and stuff as well.
I was planning to visit Edinburgh after visiting Glasgow. But I think it might be too much for one trip. But
Sure.
Edinburgh's definitely on the list.
They are a solid train journey apart from each other, actually. They're not close. Ooh.
Yeah.
I did get the blue speed paint. We're using the magic blue. It's quite a gem-toned blue, quite bright. I'm going to do 2 sets of it. I'll put a couple on this one and a couple on this one.
I have a bunch of places that I want to, like, specifically within the UK that I want to visit.
Blue. Yeah, where else?
So, like, Edinburgh's one. I definitely want to visit York.
Tom, who was in the call earlier, lives in York. I went to university there, so it is a place with a lot of nostalgia for me. I was actually there last weekend. My partner and I were celebrating 4 years together, so
cute.
we made our way over because he lived close by as a kid, and I went to uni there, so we had separate kind of like nostalgic reasons for wanting to visit again. It was cool. It was actually very sunny on the Saturday and then incredibly rainy on the Sunday.
Yeah, but that's to be expected.
That's to be expected.
Oh, did it snow for you like yesterday?
No. Don't think so. Although, admittedly, I did not leave the house yesterday, so...
Oh, that's fair.
Thursdays and Fridays are a work from home day for me. So unless there is a specific need for me to go out on those days, especially when it's cold, I sometimes will not bother. Which is a bad thing, you know. I should try and go out more. Get those kind of like lunchtime walks in or what have you. But
yeah. No, yeah, so like it didn't snow much, but it did snow on yesterday. What was I saying? Oh, the other place within the UK, like I've already been, but I definitely want to go back to Cornwall. Just because
I've never been.
Of stuff that we didn't get to do there that I want to see.
It's a very diplomatically said place, very connected to nature.
Yes.
And I am a city lad, so I would find an extended time in Cornwall maybe a little difficult. But it doesn't really change the tone that much, actually. Oh, this is very blue. This is more blue than I was expecting, actually. Okay. It's fine. Just, yeah, more. Should I be more concerned about using it in the recesses then, compared to, especially since it's not sitting on the Mini very well? Okay, well, alright. I may have to, reassess. Let's see if we can, wipe some of that away. Oh, I can. It's not too bad. We might employ a periwinkle instead, which I do believe. Oh, might even try a pastel seafoam.
I do love how painting is a lot less of a permanent thing than people might think.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You can always take airbrush thinner or something similar and just do it again. You know, paint can always be removed. Yeah. Adding in a little bit of the seafoam, I think, has broken it up quite nicely. And then I'm gonna have to manually go in and paint some of this, but it has softened the blue considerably.
Yeah, that's looking nice.
Yeah, the technique of wet blending, which works as the name would suggest, is a very effective way of being able to get a transition between two colors, is applying it while it's still wet to just force those colors to transition nicely.
Yeah.
And since speed paints are just a little bit on the water soluble side before they properly dry, being able to kind of just be like, actually, I have wiggled you into a new perspective, a way of being. But yeah, this is definitely going to be something I'll need to manually paint in the details to get where it needs to be, because I think it's a little bit unruly in some places. That's okay. I might even switch to my thicker brush to make sure I get that blending going where it needs to be. Because there is a lot that has gone in the recesses here that I want to move. Just gonna start pulling some of that back out and replacing it elsewhere on the miniature. Yeah. Adding a little bit of sea foam to the base coat here, I think, is already kind of giving it a bit more interest in the color, like that. And then I'll need to I can employ the royal blue for some of the deeper areas at the back. Gonna get it in here in a way that you can see. There we go. Getting it in the back. And then while it's still wet, going in with a seafoam turquoise and just blending that shit back out. It's actually kind of fiddly. It's a much richer tone for the water. Maybe this is a little too cartoony of a watercolor now, or maybe I just got so used to the kind of like a slightly paler version of the blue because it sat there for so long, and now my eyes have not adjusted to the idea of it being a stronger tone. But I don't hate it. It's just different. You get used to staring at it in one way. me clean that up. I kind of wanted to avoid using too much contrast paint across these, not out of a laziness or anything, just because they're can be a bit of finite resource. So, you know, compared to other contrast paints, Army Painters is quite cheap, but it can still, you know, the bottles are not very large, and this is a very large miniature, so that's why people tend to use like, you know, range and work style craft paint to kind of fill large spaces. But I think also because I base sprayed this in acrylic, the adherence of that cheap paint wasn't really doing it, so I kind of did need to pull out the big guns for some of it. But I mean, that's a pretty nice amount of color depth, actually. We get the deeper blue towards the back, and it's a brighter blue towards the front. I'm into that.
Yeah, I also think like the deeper blue, like because before like the water was very much like standing out, but now like it does feel like a little bit more like, because of the deeper blue, it does feel like it blends a little bit better into like the purples.
Good. Yeah, and even then I can actually leave maybe some of the front relatively unchanged, because I quite like the purple undershading that the spray is done. So maybe finding a ways of keeping that would be nice. But yeah. Again, for something that we today has been very much an experiment for, I think in many ways the experimenting has been quite successful in turning out something that feels right. This is largely, you know, it's had some of the pieces with slight missteps. You know, there was a bit where the tiger head looked like it had blush, and that's been reduced quite a bit now. You know, parts of it were a little touch and go, but I think how this has ended up sitting has been very, very cool. All right. Okay. This might be the time to get the dry brushing phase in. So I do have. Remember where they currently are. Oh, here they are. Makeup brushes that we can use as dry brushes. And the aim of the game here, whether we may or may not succeed, you know, again, we're experimenting. We do not know whether or not we're going to succeed in what we're doing until we try. We're getting our brush damp. It's maybe a little too damp right now. Let's see if I can get some of that water out. But we are going to dampen our brush, and we're going to use what do we want to use here? We might be using more than one color in terms of dry brushing here. Let's, for now, use some pastel green. It's kind of more of a pastel aqua.
Yeah, that definitely does look more blue on camera.
It's quite blue. There is actually a pastel blue in the same set, and it is much more of a. This is the pastel blue, and this is the pastel green. This is much more of a baby blue.
Like, cannot tell a difference.
No, the color depth on the camera is pretty close. You can sort of tell that it's different, but the color depth of the camera is maybe not selling it. But what I'm figuring is getting a very, very light brushing of the pastel green on some of these areas near the water to kind of have that tinting of blue in some places, but I'm gonna have to be very careful. So this is risky experiment territory here. We're gonna get a little bit of the pastel green.
This is the Sakura of mini painting.
Yeah, I've got to parry this color process. So I'm gonna kind of work it into the bristles of my brush and then try and remove quite a bit of it. Still a bit too much. I'm gonna move back. Yeah, I have a feeling that my brush is a little too damp still. You do want it to be a little bit damp, but this is maybe too damp. What are we doing here? Might be fine. It's still a little much, but we'll be careful and see how we go. We're just gonna. Yeah, it's still a little much, but we're getting it in some areas. Just touching it. Yeah, still too much. This is too much. Still, I have to remove a lot more of it than that. Okay. Let's be a bit more aggressive about removing. That's better. That's still a bit. It's not ideal, but it's definitely catching the areas that I need it to catch. It's just a bit streaky, which is not exactly what I want. But it looks painterly at the least. I definitely want it in front of the waterfalls. A little bit of light dry brushing has given it some texture, but it's probably quite hard to see. You can definitely see it on the tips of these little like fang outcroppings here. You can definitely see that those are much more dusted with a light blue than before.
Yeah, and you can see on bits, I guess on the left side of the mini, like you can see the dry brushing. And
I don't mind it being super visible. I can go in with a smaller dry brush for much more precise dry brushes. But it's nice to get. I've now got a better air of blue across that, which is what I was aiming for.
Yeah, at the moment it kind of gives the vibes of like light reflecting off the water onto the rock.
Which is why I wanted to do the blue on the lower half, and then I'm going to dry brush the upper half in maybe a light purple or a yellow.
Ooh, yeah. But like, even though like at least from what it looks like on camera, like it does look like you have like achieved that effect. Like rather than it being too much.
Which is good. I mean, you know, you can never go too much, but yeah. This is a maximalist coloring stream. But where is my purple? Pastel purple. We have pastel pink. That's not what I'm looking for. The AK paint range is actually very nice. The consistency of the paint is quite delightful. And it thins quite nicely as well. They're just good quality paints. They're solid, reliable. Been using them for various projects for quite a while now. This is that. Pastel Violet is like a very dusty lavender. Almost pinkish, but not quite.
Ooh.
Let's see here. This is a bit too damp now. I'm gonna get myself another piece of kitchen towel. Give me just a second. Whoop. It might make sense to actually start having a small roll of kitchen towel to have by my painting stuff, so I don't need to get up. But we're just gonna, as before. Oh, okay. Just drizzle of our pastel purple. Get it into our brush. Work it into the bristles. And try and get rid of as much of it as I can. It's hard to tell because it's so pale how much of it I have or don't have on my brush. That's still too much. I love playing this guessing game. I generally don't like painting on my hands to check stuff, but for dry brushing, that's kind of like the only way you can really do it. But yeah, okay. Oh, that's still too much, man. Shit. What happened? Okay, that's better. Maybe a bit much on the nose, but it's all right. Gentler than that, that's fine. Dusting the top of the head. Picking out all them lumps and bumps and crumps. There we go.
Also, I think this is where I now leave you.
No worries. It's starting to get late, actually. I've just checked the time, being like, oh. No, thank you for hanging out with me, and I hope you have a fabulous weekend, my dear.
Yeah, of course. I'll talk to you later.
Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, chat.
All right. Yeah. Definitely very obviously dry brushed, but I think the purple highlight I think stands out in a very cool way. I do like that. This is rapidly feeling like we're getting to a place where I won't be able to call it done in one stream, but we have made astounding progress today, which I'm very happy about. What might be a good way to wrap things up is to get the gold on the statues. Where is my gold? Where's the old gold? I want to use the contrast paint gold. There's a contrast paint gold called Glittering Loot, which is a personal favorite of mine. It's very effective at what it is. Silver. Oh, here we are. Glittering Loot. Ooh. Ha! The purple dry brush is very signature me. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. I retain a hint of lavender, always. I believe that's like a way that you described my work. My work has a hint of lavender to it, and that sat in my head rent-free. I adore that. A lavender haze, so to speak. Yes. Love it. So yeah, we're just gonna get a good dollop of that gold there. There's a lot of stray. bits of half-dried paint. Stay where you are. How about not staying on my fingers? That'd be a cool thing of you to do. There we go. I've only sort of got paint on my hands today. It's not been too bad. It's been worse. And we're just gonna go on in and lavishly cover these statues in gold. I mean, these are supposed to be stone statues, but they're gold statues, man. I can't lie to you. They're gold statues. Legends of the Hidden Temple ass gold statues. Jungle Run looking ass gold statues. We didn't have Legends of the Hidden Temple in the UK, but we did have an ITV show called Jungle Run, which was essentially the same premise. Maybe slightly worse. I did manage to get gold on the bottom of that waterfall. Great. I will clean that up. I mean, me too. I don't think I would have been capable of going on Jungle Run, but I enjoyed watching it as a kid. Rid of the gold that I accidentally put at the bottom of this waterfall. Stick to the rivers and the lakes like you're used to. Fully delusional enough to think that you'd be great on it. I watched a TikTok the other day of somebody talking about, oh man, all these gay men who go to the bar and watch RuPaul's Drag Race and say, oh man, I would have snapped at Drag Race. And the guy being like, yeah, what do you do? What do you do? You can't sew. I have never seen you tell a joke. You're conflict avoidant, so you wouldn't even be able to do the untucked. So like, what would you offer? Man, shit. I mean, I have done drag performances before. Very, very short, like, you know, under 5-minute numbers. So I would not be capable of doing a drag race thing, but you know, if fucking Sasha Velour said, I am coming to your city and we need 5 wannabes who are interested in drag to be on stage as part of this bit that I'm designing, I'd be like, oh my god, yeah, absolutely, I'd do that. But the idea of competing on a show like Drag Race is beyond me. What I would have loved to do, actually, though, I would have loved to be on the Traitors. I would have loved to do the Traitors. I mean, I have always been obsessed with game shows. Ever since I was a kid. It is definitely factored in to my approach to game design. You know, I wouldn't be into game design if I wasn't a fan of game shows first, right? But when you work in TV, generally, you are not permitted to enter into game shows when you are working on TV, so I would not have been able to have entered onto the Traitors. That would be in a conflict of interest, which I understand. That makes sense to me, but Traitors would have literally given me a heart attack. I get palpitations playing any kind of deceit-based game. See, I love deceit-based games. I am also bad at them, but I love being the kind of like, oh, could I be the traitor though? And then just kill me immediately, and it turns out I'm normal. I'm an ordinary person. You're good at them, but it's you're giving yourself a run for your money every time you see your light flash before your eyes. I just gave this a gold tooth. Stop, no. Truly. Yeah. No, I love hidden role games, but I'm too much of a drama queen for him, unfortunately. I'm gonna have to go back in with just regular non-fancy paint and correct that. But I'm loving the fact that I can just slap on this contrast paint and just make this shit nicely gold. No effort. Love speed paints, man. One time I got away with some real mastermind shit because I endeared myself to the chef. Hey, you gotta play all the angles. You gotta play all the angles. Because there's also that if you have too much of a reputation for being good at social deduction games, then any other social deduction game you play, even if you aren't like the culprit or whatever, people will immediately suspect you because you're good at them, so clearly you're lying, even if you're playing a character where you're not lying. And that life is where the terror lies, honestly. This has come out so nice. It's not done. I don't think this is done. I need to kind of go in on a separate occasion and kind of do some finer detail works to really kind of like get it there, but what do you think? I think this has turned out really nice for 3 hours of stream. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Like, I need to kind of go in on pieces of the water and kind of color correct that and kind of do white in the little splashes to kind of get those to look like sea foam and stuff, and kind of like do them at the edge of all the bits where they hit the rock. But the color story is phenomenal. I really love how that has gone from like a purpley blue black to a kind of rock red, and that gradient. That has gone very nicely. I'm very happy with that. Okay. In that case, I think we're going to not overly fuss and call that a stream, and then I'll probably finish the final details kind of, you know, like in my own time. But this has been great. I don't do miniature painting streams as often as I would like, but all of y'all genuinely kind of turn up and love hanging with me while I'm working, and that makes this process so much more enjoyable when I know that there are other people who are also getting to do fun craft stuff alongside. Placing it like here so you can see it. Let me wiggle the focus again so it's in view. Yeah, man. Fuck. If you're ever looking for someone to hop on the call with, yeah. I mean, I need to invite you to the secret Discord at some point. You like tabletop stuff enough, where you could be part of the secret Discord if that's a thing that you would be interested in. Because that's usually how I do my calls. But yeah. No, this was real. Let me sort out how to raid to other people. Yeah, you got invited to the Cool Kids Club. Let's see here. There is a way to, okay. Same category search. There is somebody called, oh, let me open the channel so I can see what the channel is about before I start sending people there. Okay. I'm having a look at the other folks who are doing makers and crafting streams, because my new bot allows that, which I think is quite interesting. Seeing what people are doing. Ooh, this person is doing clay sculpting, trying to do. Okay, sick. We're gonna pass things over to Andy Mecca. Right, let's get that going. Okay, that's working correctly. Marvelous. So thank you everybody for joining me. we're going to pass things over to Andy Mecca. We're going to go say hi and go and check out all their work. To remind you one last time, this stream has been sponsored by both Atomic Mass Games, who gave me the Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff, and Insert Coin Tees, who gave me this Persona 5 shirt. We will put in the sponsored thing one last time. There we go. Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to be passing it on to the raid now. I have been your androgynous android game shows from the future, Nathan Blades. This has been the Neon Castle Twitch channel, and we'll see you all again next time. Farewell.